Hello, everyone, and welcome to Origami Hoops. I'm your host, Dribble the Swordsman. Today, we're going to be diving into a topic. Let's jump right in. Okay, so this topic right here, if you see the title to this podcast, it's going to be something like Russell Westbrook. I might just leave it at that, just kind of like almost like a self-titled album. And I'm going to be getting into some comments that he made a few months ago around like March 2021. I'm going to be unfolding this a little bit because this right here is something that I think a lot of people may not realize. And, honestly, I kind of didn't realize either. Like, I realized it, but it didn't really hit me until he said it. And I think it affected me a little bit more when he said it is because of how I felt about him before this. So let me explain. If you've talked to me about basketball before, if you ever seen my Twitter feed and stuff like that, I have been critical of Russell Westbrook as far as like how he plays the game of basketball. And you know what? Sometimes it's hard to separate the player from their off the court persona, or the player from the actual person, their play style from the actual person. I had trouble with that now that I look back. And I think a lot of that has to do with me maybe not even thinking for myself all the way back in those times, kind of just going by what I heard on TV and how they analyzed stuff and the way that they spoke. It got into my mind and I kind of thought that way and didn't even think much about it. So it's like, yo, I don't like that guy. Yo, that dude sucks. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. That dude's not good. You know what I'm saying? Things of that nature that you may throw out there when talking about an athlete. And the thing is, right? More specifically, now that I've tried to clean that up, I'll say, I don't like the way he plays basketball, or I don't like his play style. I don't like their shot selection. I don't like this, that, or the third, kind of describing more about their game, because honestly, I don't know that person. And a lot of people don't really know that person, don't really know that player to really understand what kind of person they are. When you're a public figure like that, some people are not just an open book. Some people have things that they don't share with everybody. So even though you see a person, right, interacting with the media, doing interviews and stuff like that, it's different than just hanging around that person in real life, talking, playing games, getting some, eatery going, things of that nature. It's a little bit different. So I think we all have to understand that. I don't want to go on and on and on about this, but I did want to talk about it because I think it's something that is important. So my mentality has kind of changed, and hopefully you guys can kind of think about this and maybe your mentality can change a little bit about it, because the comments that Russell Westbrook made, they really affected me because I didn't like Russell Westbrook as a basketball player. Now, let me kind of clarify this a little bit. I did like him when he played a certain kind of way. When Russell Westbrook started shooting a lot of jump shots and wasn't making them very much, he was shooting a low percentage, when I felt like he was making bad shot selections and things of that nature, a lot of this kind of came from when he was in OKC. I started not to like him. It was kind of like a love-hate relationship. Like, yo, I like him when he's driving to the basket, not taking a lot of jumpers and stuff like that, and then creating for others off of that. But I didn't like when he was like, shooting those three-pointers and stuff like that, because he just was not good at making them at that point. But I have to understand, too, with basketball and with anything, you can practice all you want, but you have to try that out in the game, too. You have to try it out at game speed. Because when you're practicing, you can try and practice at game speed and try and perfect that craft. But even if you're practicing at game speed, it's not exactly game speed because you're not in an actual game. So when he's practicing and whatnot, he has to go out on the court and perform. He has to get those shots up. Make or miss, it gets that confidence going. It's the confidence to take those shots and then the skill to make those shots consistently. But the confidence has to come kind of first in a way. You have to be confident enough to even take the shot in the first place, whether it goes in or not. So these are just kind of things that we have to understand when we're looking at these athletes and stuff. Everybody can improve. Even a person can regress also. If you don't use it, you lose it, as they say. But these are just things we have to understand. But the comments that Russell Westbrook made, he talked about being a champion.
Like I said before, a championship don't change my life. I'm happy. I was a champion once I made it to the NBA. Like, I grew up in the streets.
He said, I was a champion once I made it to the NBA, basically, right? He's saying he already is a champion because people were coming at him. I think he was kind of responding to like Stephen A. Smith's comments about him and stuff. So he decided to comment about it. And he said he doesn't really often do it, but he decided to comment about it because he said that he was kind of tired of people trying to push these narratives on people and whatnot, and not really understanding the actual person, what they went through, what it took to get to that point. And I really respected that because that really opened my mind and my eyes at that point, because like I said, I'm hearing this from a person that I kind of didn't like. And I'm not trying to say that in a Russell Westbrook, if you hear this podcast, I'm not trying to say I didn't like you as a person, because I don't know you as a person. How can I not like you as a person if I don't really know you like that? You know what I'm saying? I can only like what you put out or dislike what you put out for us to consume as people watching you and stuff like that. And I can consume your play style and your approach to the game and stuff like that, right? But I can only understand you from that point. So it's like, yo, if I get to know you, we have a conversation in real life and stuff like that. I'm like, yo, this dude is a decent dude, or yo, this dude is not decent, whatever the place may be, then I can understand it better. But I just have to go from what I'm seeing and whatnot. So at a certain point, I did not like Russell Westbrook because I didn't feel like he was taking good shots. I felt like he was like kind of not being a good basketball player on the court because of those things. It was making his team not as good as it could have been. And the stats kind of show that too. When he shot under a certain amount of field goal attempts, when he shot at a certain percentage or whatever the case may be, you kind of see that correlation like with their wins and whatnot. But I also understand that he kind of had to do that because of people that were around him, the structure and whatnot as well, because that is also important. And we have to understand that. There was even this meme at one point that the only thing that could stop Kevin Durant, this is when Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook were playing together in OKC. The only thing that could stop Kevin Durant is Russell Westbrook, because Russell Westbrook would take the ball out of his hands by taking these shots and stuff like that. But at the same time, you kind of need that dynamic, because if it's all on Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook standing around not doing anything, then it's going to be hard for Kevin Durant to score potentially. So you kind of need that dynamic. So I can understand that from a basketball philosophy standpoint. But I just wanted to get into this because that is so true what he said. You don't know these people. Like, look at Russell Westbrook, right? He said he was in the streets. Like, look, now I don't know exactly what that means. You know what I'm saying? But I understand that he is from Los Angeles. You know what I'm saying? So I can understand that certain things go down in those areas. And I understand that making it out of those situations is extremely difficult. So let's get into the definition of a champion. So I'm looking at a couple of different sources here. Can't just get one source. You got to have multiple sources, people. Let's look at dictionary.com. So champion, according to dictionary.com, is a person who has defeated all opponents in a competition or a series of competitions so as to hold first place. Definition 2, anything that takes first place in competition. And now let's look at Merriam-Webster and look at their definition. Okay, so there's a few definitions here. A winner of first prize or first place in competition. A militant advocate or defender. Warrior, fighter. One that does battle for another's rights or honor. Okay, so we have a few things there to kind of think about. So when you look at Russell Westbrook, and you look at the situation that he came out of, potentially, you know, growing up in LA and whatnot. I mean, I'm sure we all have heard the stories about things that go down there in those areas, especially in areas that are not the quote unquote rich areas and whatnot, right? You know, the hood. And it's not very pretty. So for him to defeat his opponents in a competition. So let's break down this. Now, this is a little bit deeper than just basketball, right? This is what the whole conversation is about. He mentioned this as well in his conversation. It's deeper than basketball, bro. We're talking about real life right now. And, you know, when you paint this picture like, oh, this dude is not a champion, he's not this, he's not that. Okay, that's fine and dandy, but look at what he is. Look at what he actually did in real life. Look at what he's doing for the community, what he's done, you know, for the community, like, and inspiration and all of those things. Because, look, when you look at this definition, right, defeated all opponents. Now, he may have defeated some physical opponents to make it to that level, you know, to make it to the NBA and to, you know, get that status. But he also defeated environmental opponents as well. Remember, when you're writing a book, right, you have different types of enemies, right? So you've got like like other human enemies. You may have like an animal that's an enemy. You may have an environmental aspect that's an enemy. Like, for example, say if your character is like in a desert, right? There's no water or anything. They're trying to find, you know, an oasis. They're trying to find their way back to civilization where they can get water and food and stuff, right? The desert itself would be an enemy for that character. That's an environmental enemy. So for Russell Westbrook to be around these different things, right? You all heard about it, I'm sure, in LA. You know, you heard the rumors, the stereotypes, all those different things, right? Violence, gangs, things of that nature, right? Poverty, things of that nature, okay? For you to make it out of those things, right? You are a champion. More specifically, you're probably more so a winner. But hey, winning is still good. And let me ask you this. Is that not being a good role model? Because people want to be a winner, right? They want to be somebody who wins. They want to be a champion, right? A lot of people, especially, you know, sports fans and whatnot, growing up, that's what we want to be. We want to win. We want to be champions. That's what we want. And it's funny too, because in a lot of anime, especially a lot of shonen anime, that's what they want to do. They want to win. They want to be the best. They have a goal, you know, whether it's the Pirate King, the Hokage, you know what I'm saying? All these different things, right? The strongest. They want to be that. That's what their goal is, and they're going to get that goal. And essentially, that's like being a champion to them. Like when Luffy finds the One Piece, will he not be a champion? Will he not be a winner? Will he not have overcome his opponents, whether they were people or environmental? Come on, guys. This is real life, people. This is real life we're talking about here. All right, so One Piece is not real life, but these are real life situations that can come up. But just real quick, let's look at the definition, though, for a winner, because I really feel like this is kind of more of what Russell Westbrook was alluding to, as far as like, not to put words in his mouth, but just instead of saying champion, you could say I was a winner once I made it to the NBA. And here's why I kind of say that. Look at the definition. This is from dictionary.com. It says a person or thing that wins, victor. Let's look at Merriam-Webster's definition. One that is successful, especially through praiseworthy ability and hard work. A victor, especially in games and sports. One that wins admiration. A shot in a court game that is not returned and that scores for the player making it. All right, so looking at those definitions, I think that kind of fits up what he's talking about too. And you know, the thing about it is, right, even when I was looking up these definitions, right, when I looked at Google for their definition of champion, one of the synonyms was actually winner. So, I mean, of course, you have to be a winner to be a champion, but not necessarily. You can lose and still win. And yes, I am kind of making a reference to white man can't jump, but it is what it is. That can actually happen. Sometimes when you lose, you actually win. And sometimes when you win, you actually lose. So you have to kind of play it, by each situation. Every situation is not the same. But I will say this. Michael Jordan, one of the most prominent sports figures, maybe of all time. Some say he's the greatest basketball player of all time in the NBA. So why do people want to be like Mike? Is it because of his style? Is it because of his looks? Or is it because of his skill? Is it because of his winning? Is it because of his championships? I'm sure there were a lot of bandwagon fans back then during those Bulls runs that they weren't Bulls fans at first, but once they started winning championships, they became Bulls fans. I mean, and it happens with probably every year with every team. I know I experienced that. I've been a Warriors fan, for example, since 2011. I'm going to talk about how I became a Warriors fan in another episode. So if you guys are interested in that, you guys can, look out for that episode. But I say all to say, back in 2011, the Warriors were not that great. They weren't even making the playoffs, and if they were getting knocked out. So it took a long time for them to kind of get into the playoffs and stuff. When they did, they kind of got out in the first round, maybe the second round and stuff like that. And eventually they came to prominence and became NBA champions. It was amazing to see that, going from 2011, to like 2015 and stuff. That was awesome. But were people, Warriors fans, that whole time before that championship? No. All of a sudden, you see all these new Warriors fans pop up because they won a championship. People want to be the winner. They want to be like the winners. And here's why I say this about Russell Westbrook and why he is a winner, why he is a champion. I agree with him because I'm going to actually make a reference here to another person from Los Angeles, California, and you may know them. Their name is Kendrick Lamar. They're a hip-hop artist, a rapper, musician, artist, all of those things, right? So this is from his album, Good Kid, Mad City. Okay, it's actually from a song called Real. Okay, it's later on the album. I think it's like the second to last song on the album, if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. But basically, I'm looking at this last little part of it at the very end of this album, which if you haven't heard it, I would definitely recommend listening to it, especially the clean version. I'm an advocate of that, clean version all day. You know what I'm saying? So check that out if you get a chance. And I may talk about that on my other podcast. So if you guys want to talk about that or hear about that, then you guys may want to check that out. Sorry for all the shameless plugs. I know. But let's get into these lyrics or this recorded message, because it's really not lyrics at this point. See, the way the album was set up, it was kind of like a movie. It was kind of like a slice of his life back when he was in Compton, California, growing up and whatnot, right? Compton, California, kind of it's within LA, you know what I'm saying? So it's like a neighborhood in LA, right? Los Angeles, California. So this is what it says. Very last part, right? The way he set it up was he had his mom and dad on the album, and they would be talking to him, like leaving messages on his phone and stuff like that, because he had borrowed his mom's car to do these different things and whatnot. He got to see these different situations and whatnot. It was kind of like a movie, it was a story, you know what I'm saying? It had continuity and things like that too. So it was pretty cool. So during one of these messages though, this is what his mom, Paula Duckworth, says. If I don't hear back from you by tomorrow, I hope you come back and learn from your mistakes. Come back a man. Tell your story to these black and brown kids in Compton. Let them know you was just like them, but you still rose from that dark place of violence. becoming a positive person. But when you do make it, give back with your words of encouragement. And that's the best way to give back to your city. All right. So that's kind of like an excerpt there. She says a little bit more after that, talking about she loves Kendrick and whatnot, where she left the keys and stuff if he comes back to the house or whatever. But that right there is so profound, and it matches up so well with what Russell Westbrook is talking about. And these two people are from Los Angeles, California, and saw these different things that, and you look at this album, right? If you listen to this album, you kind of see some of the things that are depicted in LA, in Compton, in these different places in LA and whatnot too. You know what I'm saying? These things, it goes on not only in LA and Los Angeles, we can go all over the world, you know, these different types of situations and whatnot. So right there at the end, right? It says, give back with your words of encouragement. That's the best way to give back to your city. You rose from a dark place of violence. Come back and tell your story because you were just like them, basically, you know? So it's like, it's relatable to those people that are in that environment. So think about this. The people that were in Russell Westbrook's neighborhood that saw him make it out of that bad situation, would that not inspire them? Yo, he made it out. Maybe I can make it out too. I'm going to stay on my grind and make it out of this bad situation that I'm in. I'm going to try and be like him. I'm going to try and win against these environmental factors and get out of this place. That's what it's about. Now, it's funny because I'm talking about real life right now. In real life, it kind of almost seems like it's not about that. Actually, Andre 3000 made a reference to this in this song called Royal Flush during his verse. For one, he said it's easier to run the streets than to walk in the sand, meaning that it's easier to kind of stay wrapped up in that lifestyle and stuff than to go somewhere else, you know, where it's not like that. It feels weird, you know what I'm saying? It can feel funny. It can be hard to do that. And then he said, I thought the name of the game was to have a better life. I guess it ain't. What a shame. So that right there too is another stigma. So it's like, yo, you make it out, but then you got haters. Like, yo, you know, they're jeering you and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Because they didn't make it out because they couldn't do it for whatever reason. But it's not about that. This is about inspiring people to do better and to make it out and to win, to become champions. That's what it's about. You know what I'm saying? That's what some of the best coaches, some of the best mentors in anime, that's what they do. They bring out the best. They make those champions, man. They put that idea like, yo, you can do it. You know what I'm saying? They say no to negativity. You can do it. And then they achieve it. So it's amazing what that can do, right? So the thing is too, though, right? Kendrick Lamar also talks about this, and I kind of alluded to it what I was just talking about. This is from another song where he talks about different people that he was watching when he was a kid growing up in LA and Compton, and how they kind of inspired him. So this is deep. And the connection here is that both of these people, Russell Westbrook, Kendrick Lamar, they're both from California. They're both from Los Angeles area. You know what I'm saying? So they're experiencing different things because the same things that were going on, like, and I think they're kind of around the same age too. So like the same things that were going on, like back when Kendrick was young, back when Russell Westbrook was young, growing up in that area, are still going on today. And they experienced it around the same time anyway. So they have, like, it's very connected. It's a very good connection right here. So let me show you. So in this song, right, it's called Black Boy Fly. This is also off of the Good Kid, Mad City album, but it's on the bonus deluxe edition. So there's like I think it's like 3 songs on there that are not on the actual like 12-song album. Personally, I like the 12-song album. It really tells a story because when you get into like the deluxe part, it kind of breaks away from the story, but there's still good like one-off tracks, I feel like. There's Now or Never with Mary J. Blige, and there's this one, Black Boy Fly, where Kendrick Lamar is talking about these different people that he observed growing up in Compton and making that out. So he talks about Aaron Aflallo, right? Aaron Aflallo, you may have heard of him before. He, I don't think he's still in the NBA now. He may be overseas. I don't know. He may just be like just a free agent. Nobody's picked him up or whatever. Or he may have retired. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, so Aaron Aflallo, you know, he played for some different teams. He played for the Denver Nuggets. He played for Orlando. You know, I think he may have played for some other teams here and there. I can't remember. But he was a pretty good NBA player, too. You know, he was a 3-and-D type of guy. You know, he was a three-point shooter, defender type of player. You know what I'm saying? You know, pretty decent player. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't like a superstar or anything. He was kind of like an average to above average player, I would say. But I must say also, I didn't watch a lot of Aaron Aflallo. So, you know, hey, correct me in the comments. You know what I'm saying? Correct me if I'm wrong. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on social media. So he talked about Aaron Aflallo, right? He said, I used to be jealous of Aaron Aflallo. I used to be jealous of Aaron Aflallo. He was the one to follow. He was the only leader foreseeing brighter tomorrows. He would live in the gym. We was living in sorrow. Total envy of him. He made his dream become reality, actually making it possible to swim his way up out of Compton with furthermore to accomplish. Graduated with honors, a sponsor of basketball scholars. It's 2004 and I'm watching him score 30. Remember vividly how them victory points had hurt me. So I could go on in this, right? But it says that basically he's talking about the decisions that he made, right? He chose to stay in the gym. He chose to focus on his academics to make it to his goal, to make it out of Compton, to make it out of that bad situation that he was in. And Kendrick was envious of this. He's like, yo, I want to do that too, right? But at the same time, he talks about how he was kind of going the other way from him because he was ditching classes. He talks about here, you know what I'm saying? They were doing other things and whatnot, you know what I mean? So it's interesting that, you know, sometimes that can happen too. Even though a person sees this other person, right? You kind of had that level of envy and maybe even hatred, like, yo, like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this right now. You know what I'm saying? They about to make it out and I'm going to be stuck here in this bad situation. Like, I'm here in the fire and they going to make it out into the water. They going to cool off and everything. Like, I don't know if I like that. You know, like sometimes your mind can do that to you, you know? But really you should like, you know, try and congratulate that person and try and lift yourself up out of that situation too. But he also talks about another person. He talks about a person by the name of Jason Taylor. Now, a lot of people may not know, but Jason Taylor is actually The Game, the rapper. That's his real name. So he says this, I used to be jealous of Jason. I used to be jealous of Jason Taylor when I was young. Taylor made a career out of music from writing songs. A Buick had driven past bumping him when I mowed the lawn. Okay, so he's talking about these different things, right? Later on, he says, it's 2004, and I'm hearing the people roar for the name of the game. They line in front of the store. Swap meets selling our mixtapes. I'm like, oh, snap, wait. Don't want to be another dude stuck regretting mistakes. So it's like, okay, he sees the game, right? This same person that was in Compton, California, in LA, make it out. Doing big things with this music and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? His first album went platinum, the documentary. But yeah, Kendrick is seeing these things. He's seeing the game selling out these concert venues. He's seeing him selling records. He's hearing them on the radio. You know, he's seeing them in the hood, coming back sometimes. And I think it inspired him. I think it really helped him to be like, yo, if they can do it, I can do it too. But at the same time, it may have discouraged them too because of those, remember those thoughts we were talking about. But check this out. At the end of the song, he kind of lets us know what was going on in his mind. So basically, he makes a rhyme about this. This is like the last verse of the song, right? So I'm just going to go bar for bar here, okay? I'm going to clean up the language also. So this is kind of like midway through the verse. It says, the only way out of the ghetto, you know the stereotype. Shooting hoops or live on the stereo like top 40. And shortly, I got discouraged. Like every time I walked to the corner, had them guns bursting. Dudes, I was rehearsing in repetition the phrase that only 1 in a million will ever see better days. Especially when the crime waves was bigger than tsunami. Break your boogie boards to pieces. You just a typical homie. All these dudes facetious, and they all standing beside me. They all buy me a chopper if any one of you tried me. What am I to do when every neighborhood is an obstacle? When 2 dudes making it out had never sounded logical. 3 dudes making it out, that's mission impossible. So I never believed the type of performance that I could do. I wasn't jealous because of the talents they got. I was terrified that they'd be the last boys to fly out of Compton. Thank God. So this gives us a snapshot into Kendrick's mind at this point of time. And it gives us a shot potentially of Russell Westbrook's mind as well. Because no doubt, Russell Westbrook saw this too. I'm sure he saw and heard about Aaron Aflallo back then. There were other people that came out of LA area too that wanted to the NBA and whatnot at that time. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but I'm sure you guys can tell me, hit me up on social media. Because when you're seeing this, right, as a young person, that's something to aspire to. When you have a goal, you have something you can work toward, that can keep you going. That gives you hope. Hope can make you keep going and not just make you give up and get stuck in that situation forever. Hard work, perseverance, all those things to get out of that situation. And you know what? It may be hard for a person to relate to this if they haven't been in a situation like, yo, I want to get out of this situation, but I don't have the power to, at least not right now. So I have to work toward it. I have to work these jobs to do it. I have to get these licenses, these certifications to do it. I have to dribble this basketball to do it. I have to rap these lyrics to do it. Some people have not had that type of adversity, and maybe that's why it's hard for them to understand. I can understand to a lesser degree because I haven't experienced, probably a lot of the things that they grew up with in Compton and Los Angeles and things of that nature, right? But I have experienced wanting to get out of a situation and not being able to, being frustrated, being downhearted because things just ain't going the way you want them to go. But you know what? If you keep on working, you can find a way out. I'll find a way out as well. And I hope you can too. I hope that you can be like Russell Westbrook, like Kendrick Lamar, like all the other people that made it out of their situation, making a better life, not only for themselves, but for others as well. So yeah, looking at those lines and whatnot, right? The last one, it couldn't be me. I couldn't make it out. I'm scared of that. I'm scared I won't make it out. One person made it out, two people made it out. There ain't no way that I can make it out, but that's not true. Look what happened with Kendrick. And you don't have to do it with just rapping and whatnot. You don't have to be that stereotype. You can do it in different ways. I mean, if you got to be the stereotype to get out, hey, it is what it is. But at the same time, There are other avenues too, and they're good. It doesn't have to be something that's bad. It doesn't have to be something that's bad. It can be something that's good. Hey, nothing wrong with making an honest living. Even if you have to work maybe two jobs or even more than that. I mean, if you make time, for your spiritual things and whatnot, if it can fit in there, it is what it is. But I'm going to leave y'all with this because I think this is a good summary. Again, we're going to go back to a Kendrick Lamar song. It's the same song we talked about before. It's real, but we're going to talk about another part of the song. So this part of the song is actually, again, it's kind of one of those little skits, kind of one of those little messages from his parents in the song. And this time it's actually from his dad. So his dad, Kenny Duckworth, says, Kenny, I ain't tripping off those dominoes anymore. Just calling. Sorry to hear what happened to your homeboy, but don't learn the hard way like I did, homie. Any dude can kill a man. That don't make you a real dude. Real is responsibility. Real is taking care of your family. Real is God, dude. That's what it's about. God, your family, your friends, taking care of them. That's being a champion. That's being a winner. And Russell Westbrook, again, I respect you, bro, for saying that because that's real. That's real. So let me know what you guys think about this. Hit me up on social media. Hit me up in the comments, and let me know what you guys feel. I'm interested in that. I want to know how you guys felt about these comments and whatnot. What do you have to add to the conversation? Let's have a back and forth. So thanks again, everybody, for listening. And again, my name is Dribble the Swordsman. Follow me on social media at the 808 Breakdown on all platforms. That is Twitter and Instagram at least. You can also follow my personal account at Dribble the Swordsman on Instagram and Swordsman Dribble on Twitter. And at Origami Sports _ on Twitter and Instagram. If you guys are having a bad day, I hope it gets better. Stay strong. Bye.